Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday night edition of The People Show on intellectualradio.com, iHeartRadio, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. My apologies. I had a little bit of technical issues here on my end, and I see that all of our guests are here. We are going to get started. This is another edition of Monroe Monday with my guest, retired veteran journalist Monroe Anderson, who is going to be joining us right now. And then we also have a guest that we're going to be talking with, the Cook County Commissioner, Donna Miller, who is the candidate for the 2nd Congressional District, running for the vacancy of Robin Kelly. Cook County Commissioner, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And Monroe, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm having a little technical difficulty on this end, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right. Well, first,
all right.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
Okay. Yeah.
Just here.
We can see you fine.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we're going to get started. We got a really packed program tonight. We're going to be talking with some other guests a little bit later on. But right now we want to talk with the Cook County Commissioner. First of all, Commissioner, I want to, first of all, thank you for coming on the program, and thank you for coming to our meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was very, very insightful. I want to just ask you right off of the bat, why is it that you want this job?
Well, thanks for having me. It was great to be with all of you last week as well. I want this job to continue the work that I've done on the county level. I often say that Cook County is the 2nd largest county in the country. So that means that many of the things that happen here are duplicatable. And I want to take the work that I've done in maternal health, for restorative justice, for women's reproductive rights, for economic development, all the things that I've been working on as a county commissioner, I think I can take to the federal level. And with this open seat being here at this particular moment in time, it was the perfect opportunity for me.
All right. Now, you said about the work that you've done at the county. What are some of your major accomplishments that you've been at the county, and how long have you been at the county?
I have been at the county for 2 terms. So I'm in my 8th year of being a Cook County Commissioner. And I represent the South and Southwest suburbs. Much of the work that I've done on the county board has been related to healthcare specifically. It's 50% of our budget. And this year, I'm proud to say that Cook County passed a $10.1 billion budget. So about $5 billion of that budget was healthcare related, because it goes to our hospital, it goes to our clinics. So when I came onto the county board, I wanted there to be more equity for services related to healthcare in the South suburbs. First of all, I have seen that happen over time. I also wanted to initiate programs that the county could do to help people who are uninsured, who still need and deserve high quality medical care. So the first thing I did on the county board was to institute a CPR AED training. I wanted to get at the root of things that we could do to help improve outcomes for people, especially in the Black community. Unfortunately, in the Black community, most people who suffer a cardiac arrest at home. And that means that they're around loved ones or people, and the people there do not know how to do CPR. So what an easy fix in this big scheme of things, easy fix, train people to learn how to do CPR so they can save their loved one's life, right? And to use an AED. An AED is the defibrillator that we see mounted on the wall. So here's my little story about that. When I started that, it was my first piece of legislation at the county to institute the CPR AED training. The AED machine was right outside my office on the wall. And I asked everybody, I'm like, hey, everybody, do you see this? And they were like, oh my God, I've never even noticed that before. So if we don't notice that it's there and we don't know how to use it, then we're not going to use it in the case of an emergency. So over the last almost 8 years, I have trained thousands of people on CPR training. We also instituted the very first virtual, because we were in COVID, right, for almost 2 years, virtual CPR and AED training as part of our employees to take as optional training when they come in to be, new employees at the county, which the county has over 20,000 employees. So I thought that would be a great way to get people in. And many people have learned CPR as a result of that. So that's number one. Number two was maternal health. We are in a maternal health crisis in this country, especially for Black women. Black women are 3 times more likely to die as a result of childbirth because of side effects or things that happen along the way for patients who go to a hospital. I had hearings over the last several years related to maternal health. And as a result of those hearings, we found out that what we need is some kind of intervention to stop women from dying. What is that? 90% of everyone who's died as a result of childbirth is reversible, avoidable. So anything that's 90% preventable, that means we need to prevent it. We have ways that we can prevent it. So I instituted the first ever doula program at Cook County Hospital. It started last May or March of 2025. I was able to get $1 million per year for the next 3 years. So $3 million into our county budget for doulas to be mid-level providers for any woman who comes to Cook County Hospital or any clinic. They can have a doula at any point of their pregnancy. So I'm going to be really interested to see what the results show us once we have a whole year under our belt to say, how have we improved the quality of life for women who are during childbirth? We had pretty good results at Cook County Hospital for not having high number of deaths, but any one death is just too much. So,
yes. Let me ask you, those are really great ideas and initiatives that you're talking about and that you do, except if we were in normal times. But as we all know, unfortunately, we're in anything but normal times. And so what about food and housing? I mean, the real basics, what you're talking about, although is critical, but it's not in the forefront of most voters' minds, I don't think.
Well, he asked me what are my biggest accomplishments as a Cook County Commissioner. Those were 2 big accomplishments as a Cook County Commissioner that during normal times or not normal times are still important and do change the healthcare outcomes for people across the board. I also said that I wanted to do things that are duplicatable. These are all initiatives that have gotten national exposure. I have national legislation for both of those for Congress to take action and put funding behind. So they might not be on the forefront of everyone's mind right now, but women dying is on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking.
But let me just ask you before I forget it. You said that 90% of all of the deaths are avoidable. Is that
according to the data?
Did I hear that correct?
You absolutely did.
Then
yes.
And why is there not whatever? Why are we not doing that?
Because we're not focused on it. We don't talk about it enough. We don't have initiatives in place. We don't have federal legislation that we can get to implement mid-level providers. That's one way to disrupt that process. We also don't have doctors who are focused on having healthcare literacy as part of their training. Communication is the biggest key in this. And what happens inevitably in almost all of these cases is women don't feel like anyone heard them. It sounds simple, but it's not simple. We just had a woman who was a midwife. She was a midwife herself. She just died as a result of having preeclampsia after delivering her child. So these are things that we have to train, educate, and uplift to improve the outcomes on. And we have to put federal funding behind that. We have to have conversations like this so that people are aware of that this is something that they can help a person who's pregnant. I've also been saying every time that someone who's pregnant, if anyone who's listening, don't let anyone go to the doctor alone. These are simple things that we can implement and do. And having our rates be so high for Black women, 3 times the rate of white women, we have to change that process.
Okay.
And do you have the data? Do you have the data of how many deaths that we are seeing happening in the Black community? on an
The
annual
overall
basis?
data, the overall data, I don't have exact numbers, but I just know the data says that it's 3 times more likely. And that's across the board, whether you're in Illinois or California, that's across the board.
Okay, all right, thank you. Go ahead, Monroe, you got a question?
Yeah, I guess what I was saying, again, all that is very important, what you're talking about. But right now, there are other issues. And this is what people are going to be voting on at this point between now and November. And so, because you are obviously effective and able to get things done, what would you do to get things done under the circumstances we're living now?
Well, first thing is we do have an affordability issue.
Yeah.
So you want to say that healthcare is at the crux of that? It is. I'm on the phone every day talking to people. And when I'm out in the streets, the most important thing people say is their healthcare premiums are going up. So not only do we need to restore the $880 billion that was cut from our federal budget, we don't just need to restore it, we need to increase it. We have healthcare deserts throughout the entire 2nd Congressional District, the district that I will be representing in Congress. How do we make sure that those healthcare deserts are addressed? We have to put primary care and preventative care clinics throughout the district so that we are educating people so that they're not just going to the doctor when it's an emergency. We can teach people how to take better care of themselves, but we have to have our inpatient community centers doing that. There's just not enough of them. We don't have enough birthing centers in our communities. Almost every birthing hospital on the south side of Chicago closed. There's only 2 left now. That is a disgrace, and that is something that we can implement changes on. That affects our community. We're not going to have a community if we don't have any more babies born. So people are concerned about that. People are concerned about not being able to go to the doctor. People are concerned about not being able to pay their hospital bills if they have to go to the doctor. And people are concerned about everyday costs going up, of course, whether it's from groceries, which we also are in food deserts in almost every single segment of the 2nd Congressional District. We need to address those food deserts by bringing grocery stores into our communities that provide fresh food. That's another initiative I did implement as a county commissioner. I implemented a tax incentive to provide mid-level grocers to come into designated food deserts, but they have to employ from the community. They have to have a certain amount of fresh fruits and vegetables as part of their food. We go drive this down the streets in our communities. We see fast food all over the place. That is killing us, literally. We cannot eat like that and expect to be healthy. So our health is our wealth. And so if we don't have healthy communities, if we don't have vibrant communities, our children won't prosper, our seniors won't be able to make it. So we have to put things in place to get those things back into, or get them period into our community. We had hospitals and birthing centers in our community at one time. We've lost them all. We need to get them back.
If you were elected, which committees would you like to be on in Congress? Have you thought about that?
I mean, I've thought about it a bit. I would like to do something related to healthcare. Obviously, that's my backbone. That's my strong point. I also think transportation is a huge issue, since this district, the 2nd Congressional District, is where 5 interstates meet. And transportation is going to be through the Midwest. That's the biggest crux of this district. Also, the connectivity of looking at transit, looking at rail, looking at the airport. We talked about the airport the last time when we were all on together. How do we connect all of that across the board? We do that by being a transportation hub and logistically focused. So those are like high level areas I think that I'd be able to make an input on.
Yeah, I think that there'll be, obviously it's going to require a lot of work. It's going to require a lot of work, and it's going to require a lot of collaboration. So you're going to have to build relationships pretty quickly in Congress. Now, the Democrats will probably have the majority, which will make it a little bit easier for you, but then you still have to deal with what we have in terms of a president. and I don't think you will have any control over that. You can control what you can control. But in terms of the transportation piece, certainly getting that airport done, which is something that is essential to me, that I've been working with, Del Marie on and others. I certainly believe that there has been a lackluster effort from the current people in office to get this done. It makes no sense to me that we're now some 30 years later and we have 90% of the land, and it's stuck as though we have nothing. What will you do to get that to moving in a post-haste direction, that we can see some real viability of it?
Well, we need to have our meetings with our state legislators here in Illinois first. Being on the transportation committee would also be a good place for me to be to make that happen, and making sure that it starts on the local level. Many of us have been involved with speaking about the airport for 30 years, but there's still a whole generation of people who've never heard about that, aren't focused on it, don't know the ins and outs, and that we have to educate them about that. And we also have to make it so that they know what's at stake if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, a lot of them don't even know Peatone exists.
Right, they don't.
Well, first of all, let's make sure we get something. It's not Peatone. It isn't Peatone.
Right.
It's not in Peatone. That is a tag the opposition have used to try to distract from actually getting the airport done. So it's the South Suburban Airport, but it's not in Peatone.
Where is it?
So
where is it? Where is it? If it's not in Peatone, because I thought that's where 30 years ago that was the plan. So it's saying where
what it was.
Airport now.
The community that it is in, I believe it's near. It's the South Suburban area. I forget the name of the location.
It's in Moni and University Park area. I think before they were calling it Peatone because they were acquiring land all the way down to Peatone.
Yeah.
Area.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't want to call it Peatone. Right. We want to make sure that it's the South Suburban Airport. And that also, just the name alone, lets us know that we can connect the whole South suburbs as well as south of I-80 to this airport.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay. All right. So, all right. So, you obviously will have, a lot of allies there. Now, what confuses me, and I've said this before, what just bothers me, not confuses me, it bothers me, is that we have 17 Black mayors in the South Suburban area. And why, well, I shouldn't say ask you why, but what will be your plan to get them to be more collaborative and more forceful to making this happen? Because they obviously need to step up.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned about 17 mayors. We have a dichotomy with the 17 mayors. Some have been here for that whole 30 years and some are new. So the new ones are taking more leadership roles. I'm proud to say that my mayor, who's the mayor of Linwood, is now the president for the Black Mayors Association. I've had talks with her already about let's pull together a meeting so we can get this focus. She is definitely an economically development person focused. And once I think that she could lead that group of Black mayors to being unified around this issue, now is the time. And I think she's the good leader to make that happen on the local level.
Okay.
All right. Looking forward.
Let's go to the elephant in the room. Jesse Jr. is also seeking that position now. And he has name recognition better than anybody else by far. he was a good congressman, except for the stupid things he did that led to him not being a good congressman. How are you handling that? I mean, how are you hoping to overcome the fact that he is better known than everybody else?
I'm pretty well known in my district over the last 8 years too. So 27% of this district is in my current sitting district. That's one way. The other thing is we just did a poll, and our poll showed, of course, he has high name recognition. That comes without saying.
Right.
But his unfavorability was as high as his favorability, according to our poll. The other thing that our poll showed, that when you poll everyone who's in this race and just using the positive messages that they portray for themselves, that my favorability was much higher. I was double digits ahead, everyone, including Jesse Jr., with my message, with my work that I've done over the last 8 years, and with all this was nothing negative either about any of the candidates. So we're hopeful and positive that message will carry on, and that's why we're working hard to get my message out there. And that should be enough to overcome even high name recognition.
What about your
what kind of support do you have?
Well, you know, let me just one last thing. How are you doing on money?
Go ahead.
Because it's going to take some of that to get you to Washington. Also, that's a reality in politics nowadays.
It is. So we're raising money every day. That's half of my day, almost every single day. So.
Right.
Yeah. So we feel good and like we're in a good place to meet our goals for that. Of course, we can always use more, but we're getting the word out there. We are up on the air right now with commercials. We're the first one in our race to be on TV and digital ads.
Okay.
Okay. And how much support do you have out in those suburban areas? What kind of support do you have out?
I have a majority of the mayors.
Administration.
Yeah, of course, I have the majority of the mayors in the South suburbs support me, especially in the high voter turnout districts. And of course, all of my county commissioners support me, and just other local support from school leaders, churches, clergy, and just people very well known in the community. But I feel like I have, I have a great reputation for doing great work in this communities. And people know that. That's why my slogan is "Go Donna, go." I'm everywhere, so that helps. And I've built up relationships across many different areas throughout the 2nd Congressional District. I've lived in this district for almost 30 years. I raised my family here. I have voted in this district for almost 30 years as well. And my husband's a dentist. His dental practice is in this district. And he was a former legislator. So we have a lot of people on our side.
Oh, it's
all right, wonderful. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, because the Jackson name, obviously. I mean, you have one Jackson son in Congress right now, and Junior was there, and so I don't know the South suburbs that well, so that's why I obviously don't want to get into a debate on what's happening out there. You know it much better than me, but I mean, do you feel good about this from the feedback you're getting?
Absolutely. I can tell you that from most of the people that I talk to on a regular basis, and I'm just talking to random people. I'm not picking people who only like me. Okay. So as I talk to people, there's not unwavering support for someone who wants to come back into office at this time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try to have that conversation with them because they do have to. I'm sure that there are people in the district who will want answers to questions about things that happened back then. So I don't think that it's because they have name recognitions, I just don't think it's going to be such a cakewalk for them or automatic for them to get back in. And politics is always interested in this landscape. All right, Don Miller, Cook County, Don Miller, I want to thank you for coming on. But now listen, aside from this, that we have to have that conversation, because you said something to me that I have never heard anybody say about the death rate and it being avoidable in terms of childbirth amongst African-American women, which is a startling number that's not in place. So we're going to have to continue those conversations, and look forward to talking with you about that again. Okay?
Thank you. I would love to continue that conversation, because that's how we get the word out. I appreciate that. Can I just say one more other thing? One more thing.
Of course.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. So every family means something to everyone. I'm a 4th generation Chicagoan. My whole family on both sides of my family is from Chicago. So name recognition goes both ways. Lots of people know lots of people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting race, and we hope you'll come back and talk to us a couple of more times at least in the 9 months coming forth to measure how it's going and what your thinking is on this.
Well, absolutely. So everybody check me out, donnaforcongress.com. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
All right.
Yeah, Donna.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll be talking again soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Donna Miller, go to her website, donnamiller.com, and get more information. And it is going to be a very interesting race. But I also think, Monroe, that I am one who I am not a believer that it is automatic. We're going to find out from our next guest what his opinion is about that. But and he certainly has a lot more information and I'm sure analysis on that. But I don't think it's going to be an automatic for Jesse. I don't think it's going to be automatic, because there are voters and there are some higher educated voters in the South suburbs, in the district. And people want to know from Jesse, why should they trust him a second time? That's going to be a question that he's going to have to answer to people. And that's a fair question that people would ask. And it's a reasonable thing, expectation from a voter to hear from him why they should trust him a second.
Yeah, and Donna is out there now, and Jesse's not. I don't know when he plans on getting out, but the time frame is moving along. It's closing in
right
now. I don't know. I don't know whether he's taking it for granted or he's getting all his ducks lined up, but he needs some visibility, I think, at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, our next guest will be able to contribute a lot to that. Is somebody that I have watched for many years. His name is Paul Lisnick. He is a WGN TV political analysis, and he is going to join us right now. Paul, welcome to the program. How are you?
Good to see you, gentlemen. My old friend Monroe, too. It's been a while, sir.
I know. How's it going with you?
You doing well, getting ready for a busy season. You know, I remember when under the Biden administration, I would sleep at night. I would, and then during Trump 1 and now again, the phone rings. It could be at any time. Last Saturday, I was sleeping. It was 4 or 5 in the morning. The phone rang, and I thought, what happened? Whatever. Of course, he went into Venezuela. So just always something going on these days.
And always cuckoo.
We talk to, I guess.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, yeah. It's
well, since we were talking about that race, I want to get your thoughts on the 2nd Congressional District, and in terms of what have you been hearing about that race in terms of Jesse Jackson trying to regain that seat, and what people are thoughts about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there hadn't been a lot of polling on this yet that I've seen. And I've had some connections with Jesse over the last periods of months. You know, the bottom line is, and your conversation with Donna made a lot of sense, which is, look, Jesse's background, he, got in trouble for doing a crime, spent his time in prison, and the law says you get to run again, number one, and number two, you did your time. So if people in the 2nd District are of a forgiving nature and say that was in the past, and the other thing you got to look at, and I know we're talking about a pretty strongly Democratic district, but with the kind of things that go on these days in terms of crimes, handling at the top, does anything matter anymore? I mean, does anybody, do they care anymore about what crime somebody has committed? Now, that was a general, maybe USA kind of comment for other kind of places, but in the 2nd District, the answer probably is, yeah, I think they care. You talked about it with Donna, and you were being real careful with this, but look, the Jackson name is still the Jackson name. And Reverend Jackson is, hopefully with us a very, very long time, but we'll see how that all works out. So there may be some emotional pieces that come into play for this, and people who just, have a real loyalty to the Jackson name. So, I mean, I think unlike some people, getting into a race, that I think Jesse Jr. comes in with more positive points than not. The last thing I just want to say, I'll turn it back to you, but you mentioned, well, Jesse's not been out there and we see Donna. Yeah, I've seen some Donna ads. I don't think I have seen any Jesse ads, but he is out there. He is making appearances. He is talking to people in the community. And so in that particular race, we'll see how much that might just make a big difference for him.
Or do you think?
Yeah, he is doing some grassroots kinds of things where he is going out, making appearances out there in the suburbs, especially in some of the projects that he has championed for out there in the suburbs. So,
you know what, Mark? Can I just add one thing? Because, early on in the campaign, I know the primary time is just not that long away, but early on, you got to get your name out there because people don't know who you are. Junior doesn't have that problem.
Right. On the least of it, yeah. But
exactly.
But the problem he has, which Donna touched on slightly, is that there are people who are not running to him, excited about him going a second time because of the mistakes he made in the first. And I don't know how much that will be held against him or not, but it would seem to me, as a political observer, that he would be using some sort of social media and commercial media to blanket over that some kind of way, or explain it away, or say simply what you just said now is, okay, I made a mistake. People make mistakes, but I was a good congressman, and I'll be a better one now because of the mistakes.
Well, yeah, and listen, he's on radio. He's doing, he's got his show going. I mean, he is out there, as I said. I think people know him. So, and I like Donna a lot, by the way. I've known Donna for a long time too, and I like her. If you were sort of saying, well, do you count him out on March 17th? No, I don't count him out on March 17th by any means.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we can. I don't think we can count him out. I think that it is a fair analysis to say that people have questions, and I'm not looking at it so much as in the context of the crime, because I have opinions about whether or not I think they kind of overreached in that situation. However, the disappointment that a lot of people feel of all of the great work that was done, and how long it takes to get things done and to have some momentum. And there was a lot of great momentum going between he as congressman and Sandy Jackson being the alderwoman in the 7th Ward. And so there was some great momentum, and all of that went bust when they both went down. And it just completely got derailed. So I think the disappointment more so than the decision to violate campaign law. I think that the disappointment is what I believe that people are more concerned about than him making, a stupid decision to misspend campaign dollars.
Well, think about what could have been. I mean, if both of them had played it clean, played it straight, and all of that, I mean, that was a dynasty waiting to happen. And one of them going to be mayor? I don't know. But you're right. It's a very unusual situation. Your wife, because we have that from time to time. But here's your wife on city council. What would she have gone for next? I mean, those are just questions we're never going to have answered, because you can never go back to that. That's done. But when you think about it, the question is, if there's anybody, I'll use a JFK term here, but if there's anybody who had a hope of Camelot with them for a future, then do they want to grab any sense of that in terms of sending Jesse back to Congress? And while things happened as it did, he does have that experience in Congress, and you got 2 more years of Trump. No matter what. So you may have people that are saying, look, this isn't the time to send somebody, again, all due respect to Don and others running, but this is the time you got to send somebody to Washington who understands Washington and who has some connection. So that would be something, if I was Junior, I'd be talking about out there as well, which is, why me? Well, because I know the territory, I know the town, I've been there, and I have some connections. I made mistakes, but I've moved beyond that, and I hope you'll let me move beyond that.
Trump is sucking all the oxygen out of the air for politics in general.
Daily.
Exactly. So, I haven't really paid that much attention to local politics, because Trump doesn't give me a chance to do that. We got to wonder if we're going to lose NATO, because he wants to have the psychological satisfaction of owning.
And his letter today, where he sent to the Chancellor of Norway, basically saying, because you didn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I don't feel the need to go for peace anymore. But you got to, before you even get to the stupidity of that comment, you got to take a step back and wait a minute. Norway doesn't decide who gets the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
He literally had to send Trump a letter going, no, it's this committee.
Right. Exactly. I know.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's and the thing is that you're good, so maybe you can explain this to me. Is what 8 wars did he resolve?
Now, if you don't understand it, it's because there's nothing to understand. He didn't solve 8 wars, and you get 8.5. It's 8 plus, by the way, Monroe. Don't get that number off there. It's 8 plus.
That's right. That's right. Like the A+ he got.
Right. So he gets some credit for the Middle East. There's no question about it. He did get the balance of the hostages came back under his. See, I'm one of those people that believes when you're president, whatever happens in your term, good or bad, you get the credit or you get the blame. So, for example, there's somehow the administration keeps pointing back to Biden. If anything bad and economically is going on, it was Biden. I don't buy that anymore. This is a year now that we've been under his economy. I'm shifting topics a little bit, but here's the thing. If he had done nothing, if he just come in and kind of rode the wave, you might let him argue a little bit that we're still kind of coming out of a Biden. But he changed things so quickly back in April with his Liberation Day thing that he completely shifted the apple cart. And on that day, among any other days, you can't blame Biden for anything that's tied to the economy anymore.
Right.
This is all his decision. He unraveled everything that was connected to the Biden administration to put his own stamp of financial ideology in place. So
and sometimes his actual stamp, like on the Kennedy Center.
Yeah. And
let me ask you, why do you think that the media allows for him to get away with continuously saying that he solved 8 wars when he didn't solve 1?
Well, I guess they don't look at the media is afraid of him. I mean, there's several levels to this. We know CBS is done. As far as even they've got their new anchor on the evening show, and he did that interview with Trump and stuff, and so and with Barry Weiss controlling things over there. So he's got the media scared. You say the wrong thing. Today he's talking about he wants Don Lemon investigated. Have you heard about that?
No. Yeah.
He's going after Don Lemon because in Minnesota, I guess Don was in a church or whatever where there were these protesters and some issues, and I guess Don was broadcasting from there. So they're now going to investigate Don Lemon. So, but you see, it's not about Don, and I don't know whether they'll proceed, but it's about any of these media figures, they go after you one by one by one. And so it just scares everybody. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of things he says and the media kind of goes on to the next question. When, because by the way, if you did say to him, can you please name off those 8 wars? Well, he'll just turn it back on you and say, you name them. You should know what they are. You're stupid if you don't.
Right. Okay, Paul, I want to ask you, because this is my theory on this right now, is that he's jumped the shark, and that all this stuff he's doing now is in fact working against him and the Republicans who are backing him. And so there's going to be a bloodbath for Republicans come November.
So Monroe, here's the warning sign on that. Brand new poll just came out. And among Republicans, see, the question is he losing his base? Is he losing his support? Among Republicans, 6 months ago, he was at 89% favorability approval. Today, after all this, he's at 88%. So he has not lost his Republican base of support. The problem is you're looking at it not as a Republican base of support guy. So you're looking at it and going, what the heck is going on in this country?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it that actually his base is only 25% of the voters. I mean,
I think it's in the 30s, but I'll tell you what we really want to be watching for. It is the independents. He is losing independents. They are shifting. There, as you both know, that's what determines an election. Is where the independents go. But I think it is interesting with all this stuff going on. You would think, well, he must have lost 10, 20 points of Republicans who are losing their mind over this stuff. And the point is, he has not. So they've yet to that's yet to been tapped into with regard to all these things that he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, I just look at the elections, like the one election that just took place in Iowa, where the black woman won the state general assembly there. I think she won by 30 points or something like that. That never happened. Miami. This has got to be inextricably tied. Miami, where I'm from, we hadn't had a Democratic mayor there in more than 30 years. So it's got to be that, yes, independence. I think he's losing independence by some 60 points or something like that.
He's losing young men now. All these guys who thought that he was macho and they wanted to be like him when they grew up, they've become disaffected.
And of course, the Latino vote was with him, and before it. And you have a lot, people who are here and they're documented and they're legal and all of that. They're all for what he was doing with regard to undocumented immigrants. But I don't think anybody was ready for him to do it to the extent and the way it is happening. I heard a story just on the media, so I'm not making this up, but and I don't think the media was a story of in Minneapolis, some ICE agents went into a Mexican restaurant. And sat, they ordered food. Did you hear about this? They had lunch and whatever, and they left their check and they left and came back later and arrested, or took the Mexicans, whatever, who were working in that restaurant that they had just had lunch at.
Or you had the story where the family was just trying to go. This black family is trying to go from point A to point B. Weren't involved in the protest at all, but they got tear gassed. And the kids had to go to the hospital.
Oh yeah, 6-month-old baby had to go to, and they wouldn't let them get treatment. They wouldn't even let them do anything. It's horrendous. And of course, in Minneapolis, and I'm a lawyer as well, the decision to not investigate what happened to Renee Good. We're going to investigate her wife, and we're going to investigate her, and probably everybody else tied to her. Which, by the way, her father was a Trump voter and Trump supporter, which Trump has been told. And he made some comment about saying, well, I'm sure, she had a lot of good things about her. But in this case, to ignore Ross, the agent who shot and killed her. Now, you can say, well, I've seen the video. I think it wasn't his fault. You can say all those things. I trained the Department of Justice for 20 years. It is not how you do it. You investigate it. You want to conclude in the end, after your investigation, that it was rightful shots and whatever, then that's how it comes out. But you don't not have the investigation. And as you know, 6 prosecutors have resigned from that office. And you know what the funny part of that is? One of those prosecutors who resigned was the chief prosecutor in charge of the Somali fraud thing that's going on there.
Right.
So with all the importance of the Somali fraud that we have to deal with, they found it necessary or appropriate to remove the prosecutor leading that and put him on the committee to investigate Renee's wife. How serious is the fraud allegation? I mean,
well, the thing I think that is not addressed enough is how incompetent they are. Seriously, I mean, it's one mistake after the other. And again,
I don't know if I would call these mistakes. These are deliberate things that they have just decided this is the way that they're going to operate. These aren't mistakes. A mistake is if you walk by and knock over a glass accidentally. These are decisions that they've made.
I think there's two things. I think it's a lack of training. I don't think they're trained properly. But secondly, clearly along the way, they've been assured we've got your back. And when you saw what happened in Minneapolis, where there's not even an investigation, pretty much if you're an ICE agent, and look, I'm sure a lot of them are fine people. I'm not going to sit here and disparage them. My point is, if something goes wrong, they know they're going to be okay because the Homeland Security, whatever, they're going to have their back. And if you know that you got your back, it may just give you a little more impetus to not be as concerned about how you do what you do. After all, that agent Ross, he's the one, he took the video. He had a camera in his hand when Renee Good was swerving around him to not hit him. And I heard it was a congressman today who made some comment about she hit his knee, and I was just making up stuff that just didn't happen. But they say it, they believe it. And that's why I try to be careful when I say something. If it's reported, I don't want to say anything either that I can't say this is what happened. But we do know he walked away from that scene. So if he was hit or not hit, it wasn't that bad because he walked away.
Yeah, well, see what
I know that when I saw the video that you're shooting, you shot somebody 4 times standing from the side of the car. So and he walked around the car. Now I watched the video over and over and over again. I failed to see anywhere where she even nicked him with her car, turning her wheels to the right away from
again, Mark. The point is, I'm sure you'll have viewers, whatever, maybe they want to call you in, they'll write you and say, you're wrong. I don't care. It's not about that.
Right.
It's about having an investigation. That's what it's about.
Right.
Well, Todd Blanche went on yesterday on the morning shows and said that, why would we investigate an officer whose life was in jeopardy? I mean, that's.
And can I tell you, Todd Blanche is a lawyer. He's experienced. He knows what he's saying is not true. I will put any amount of money. He knows what he's saying is not true. But this is why
I say deliberate on your point. That's why I don't call these mistakes. I think that these are deliberate. Now, the guys who are the ICE agents, these are people that
they're not going to produce anything for them. The bloodbath is coming because of what they're doing. They're piling one. It's the old digging the hole. If you're screwing up digging a hole, then stop digging. And they keep digging, and it's so obvious where it's going.
Well, the other thing that's starting to come out, because I've heard 2 reports now that why is it that we have more than 500,000 of European undocumented immigrants, and not one of the European undocumented white immigrants have been detained?
Well, because
two of those stories.
One of the things they're doing is they're stopping people based on accent and face. And once again, you can look and say, well, that's right. That's not right. You know what doesn't matter? You know why it's upsetting? Because the Supreme Court said it's okay to do it. And that, as a lawyer for 40 years, I mean, I'll tell you, and I've said this, I do a weekend review every Friday night on our news. And I've said many times, I mean, I revere the Supreme Court. As a lawyer, I'm admitted to the Supreme Court. I can argue before the Supreme Court. But I've said in the last period of months, that has now just become one more. Congress is neutered. So forget about Congress. They don't exist. And the Supreme Court essentially has become this political body. Now, here's the thing. You might say, because I've had viewers say, wait a minute now. You're upset because the Supreme Court is ruling conservatively and not liberally. So you call that political. And I say, wait a minute. Under President Biden, let's start here. Under Trump, everything he's done, tariffs and everything, so we don't have the tariff decision yet, but almost everything else he's done, the Supreme Court has said executive power, go ahead and do it. Fire who you want, do what you want, with some clarifications to still come. When Joe Biden tried to just remember that policy where he was going to assist people, students, in terms of paying off student loans and giving some granting freedom for student loans, Supreme Court said, you can't do that. That's Congress's power. Well, I got to tell you, all the stuff Trump is doing on cutting funding and all this from USAID, that is Congress's power too. So if the Supreme Court is willing to let Trump do it and said, Biden, you can't, that's why I say they become a political entity.
Oh, they have. It's not, well, the majority has become that.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that after we win in November, and if we're real lucky and the Senate flips also, that there will be talk of restructuring the Supreme Court. Term limits, something will come.
To be honest, Monroe, that won't happen. It's just the way people say if the Democrats take the House, and even let's give them the Senate. 3 months ago, I said that's not even a possibility now. There is a path.
Yeah.
But let's say they take both. They don't have 2/3 in the Senate because everybody thinks they're going to impeach Trump in 5 seconds. See, the concern for me is I think Democrats generally are wimps when it comes to standing their ground and given what they get. They just don't do it. And I'll give you an example. You've seen Trump fire the world, right? And doing everything he's doing. Let's have a fantasy. Let's say in 2028, there's a Democratic president and a Democratic Congress, all right? Democrats take it all over.
Right.
Do you think for 1 minute the Democrats are going to say, well, okay, you know what? We got to do a lot of firing of people. I got to fire all these Trump people on the Fed and everything else we're going to do. No, Democrats tend to go, let's not upset the apple cart. Why are we where we are? Because Merrick Garland was so worried about looking political at anything that he did that he sat around for a year and a half doing nothing. Now, I'm sorry to paint the Democrats with that, but I think there's more evidence that they're that way than not. I'll give you one last example, and I'll shut up, which is you have President Trump saying everything's an emergency, right? It's why he's doing everything. It's an emergency. Although it was funny when Treasury Secretary Bessent was on the talk shows over the weekend, and when they went, what exactly is this emergency with tariffs? Right. And his answer was, well, it's an emergency to be sure it's not an emergency. Anyway, right. Do you think that if Democrats came over and took everything in, that a new President Pritzker, that a new president would step in and say, you know what? I think guns are an emergency, and I think we got to get guns off the street. You know what? The climate is an emergency, and I think we're going to put a lot of funding into climate and get some people out. You think they're going to do that? I don't.
It depends on who we get as the president.
I think any president. Well, you're not going to get if you get a Trump-like president.
I'm being optimistic, but I'm thinking that things are so bad, and they're going to get worse. We're not done with these horrible things Trump's doing. He's a cornered animal right now, so he's going to be worse. That just like we got a socialist mayor of New York, I think that we're gonna see more Democrats like that. That will be the shift, and that will make.
No, but I agree with Paul. Is that if, let's say, the Democrats, win this landslide and this majority, the Democrats are going to, and I guess in some degree that they will have to, right? That they have to be careful because people don't like extremes, right? They don't like one extreme. They don't like the extreme that Trump is. And so if the Democrats win, they come in and they go to the extreme, they're going to trigger, the same kind of opposition. So I think that they need to be strategically aggressive at carving something that's out. But I agree with you that they do just wimp out with this sort of kumbaya kind of position that the Republicans.
My argument is that there is a new generation of Democrats coming along that won't be doing that. I mean, they're sick and tired of what we baby boomers, how we baby boomers have been handling this, and they want something. They want the boomers from the '60s, not the boomers we have now.
Yeah, that is a great point. And you're finally seeing Dick Durbin, who says time to go. Jan Schakowsky, time to go. Chuck Schumer, who, you know, I mean, it just gets me when every time something happens, he writes a sternly written letter. You know, that's not what people want. You're right, Monroe. Now, I don't know if AOC is the future or not. I think she may be too far, but I sometimes people kind of fight me on that they think the Doran Mondamis and all of that is the future. I'm not there yet in the thinking that that's where it goes. I think they're not ready for that progressiveness.
We'll see if Crockett, and right now I don't think she'll be victorious, but if she flips Texas, then welcome to the future, folks.
Start at the primary. Do you think she can beat Tellerico?
I think so. We'll see.
That's going to be an uphill battle. That's going to be an uphill battle. First of all, he was starting.
If she does, because when she first announced she was running, I thought it was crazy. So, you know, it's like
she only announced because she's getting redistricted out of her district. That's why she decided to run.
Yeah. But I mean,
was already there.
Yeah, but
and she's got some popular moments with her attacks against Marjorie Taylor Greene and stuff. But Tallarico he's progressive, but he's a little more moderate. He's religious. You're talking Texas. We're not talking Chicago here. We're talking Texas.
No,
and we're talking statewide Texas, a state that keeps putting Greg Abbott in every time. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, people thought Democrats could take it last time. I still don't think Texas is a purple state. It's not there yet.
Yeah, it's
not quite.
But we didn't think Mondani 6 months ago. What were we thinking about with a socialist Democrat becoming the mayor of New York City?
Actually, I can't say I was going to say he was going to win. I don't remember 6 months ago, but it was pretty easy to look. And I mean, like Andrew Cuomo wasn't going to be able to do it. I mean, in some ways, it almost had to be him. I didn't see where else it could go.
Yeah, and New York, I wouldn't even compare New York to a Texas by, you know.
Oh, no.
I know. But okay, my point is, that if she does well, much better than we thought, as did with what happened in New York, then I think that's an important milepost.
Yeah, but it's also Tennessee had that race where it was a Trump by 20 district, and the Democrat lost, but instead of losing by 20, they lost by 9. I forgot what the exact number was. And the Democrats are just calling victory, 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 because look how little we lost by. And I said, yeah, and you know what you call the opponent? Congressman.
Right.
So exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
There was no moral victory there.
Yeah, Crockett is a very talented politician.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And this is why, I mean, what happened in the Carolinas, that person was okay, but they were no Crockett.
And I just think Crockett may be too much for it's a statewide race, and I think she's too much for tenant. But we'll see.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's
by the way. We're wrapping up in a moment, but remember the other side of that race. You got Ken Paxton, who's the MAGA, who looks like he will beat John Cornyn because he's not a favorite of Trump. Well, Paxton has so much baggage with his wife, all sorts of stuff. That would be. It wouldn't necessarily be that Crockett or Tellerico won it. It'd be that Paxton loses it, and Democrats will take that. They'll take that. Yeah. But I think that's what you want to look for, is to see if on the Republican side Ken Paxton gets it, then whoever does it on the Democratic side is in much better shape.
Well, that's how Barack became our senator.
Yeah.
Obama became our senator. There's this series of events.
Like it was meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know.
Domino falling.
I really feel like being optimistic because I've grown tired of being pessimistic.
Well, you wake up on election post day morning, and then you'll just be a realistic person, Monroe.
You always got to have hope.
Yeah.
No matter what.
You always got to have hope. All right, listen, Paul, political analyst from WGN TV. Thank you very much for coming in. It's always very. I love watching your commentary.
Yeah.
Learn a great deal from you, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we've been able to make this work out. And I was a surprise that I was going to get to see Monroe, so that's such a treat. So thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it very much.
I'm going to call you to have lunch. Just
all right. Oh, that'd be cool. You buying?
Yeah. because I already contributed to your tag day, but I'll buy it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah. So now, listen, and even in Texas, that because Texas, I think Texas has the largest number of Black residents of any state except for Texas, and it's growing, right?
Yeah.
It's growing out there. But again, Tellerico was always running. Jasmine Crockett decided to run because they redistricted her out of her district, and she was not going to be able to run over there. Now, would I want Jasmine Crockett over Tellerico? Of course, I would like to see Jasmine win. I'm just saying that is going to be a really uphill battle for her to win, because at the end of the day,
and what I'm saying,
because white women are not going to support her. White women in Texas are not going to support her.
Right. What I'm saying is, if she does win, then we know we got a new day overall.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because if she wins, that is going to say what is happening in the country.
Right, exactly.
If it could happen in Texas,
the Democrats have grown a pair, and that there will be names called and dues collected. But I don't. I wouldn't bet big money on her or anything like that. But I'm saying she could be a sign. A victory would be a sign if she doesn't, but I don't know.
I saw this. I think that Jasmine Crockett being in Congress is a very important thing, and I would hate to see that she is not in Congress, either on the Senate side or on the congressional side. So. It certainly remains to be seen. Now, a person who is going to help us really understand that, who is a Texan, is Roland Martin. So I'm sure they're going to be watching it very, very closely.
Yeah,
because he's from Texas.
Yeah, I know.
And so, so they're going to be watching that very, very closely. And when I saw that, and as a matter of fact, there's a debate that is coming up between Jasmine Crockett and Tellerico. I believe it's on the 25th. The two of them are going to be debating. And that's going to be very interesting to see how that debate is, because they were both on the same side. And now they're going to be debating each other. So that's going to be a very, very interesting debate. And I certainly want to put that on my calendar to observe that.
Okay, Mark. This is how much I love doing your show. Is that I am a Hoosier, an alumnus of Indiana University. and they are playing the national championship starting at 6:30. They started, so I want to catch
my home thing.
Yeah, play your
I call it my alma mater.
Yeah, okay. Well,
I call it my alma mater. I call it my alma mater.
Well, my team is playing your team.
Okay, yeah. I went to the University of Miami.
Yeah. I didn't know if you graduated.
But I didn't go as a college student.
Oh, you went after.
I went as a grammar school student.
Well, see,
because I have dyslexia.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I
have dyslexia, and one of the professors there that was one of the key people who she didn't discover dyslexia, but she was one of the key people to discover the training of people with dyslexia. And I went there when I was in the 4th grade, and she helped me with my dyslexia because I had a very, very tough time reading and comprehending.
Okay, well, several years back, I was awarded a Distinguished Alumni Award from IU's Media School, and so I'm a branded Hoosier IU guy. So it would be inexcusable if I didn't at least look at some of the game. Although the last time they went to the Super Bowl, I was a sophomore in college. That's how long ago it was, and I didn't pay any attention to them then. So now I figure I should. So anyway,
all right, I'm gonna let you go, but I want you to watch this clip. I want you to watch this clip. I saw this clip, and this is Nixon certifying the election of John F. Kennedy.
This is the first time in 100 years that a candidate for the presidency announced the result of an election in which he was defeated and announced the victory of his opponent. I do not think that we could have a more striking and eloquent example of the stability of our constitutional system and of the proud tradition of the American people of developing and respecting and honoring institutions of self-government. To John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, who have been elected President and Vice President of the United States, to extend them those best wishes and to extend you those best wishes as all of you work in a cause that is bigger than any man's ambition, greater than any party. It is the cause of freedom, of justice, and peace for all mankind. And it is in that spirit that I now declare that John F. Kennedy has been elected President of the United States and Lyndon Johnson Vice President of the United States.
Boy, where did those times go?
Well, except he was being tricky Dick still. he was already planning his comeback, and now once he got in, next time.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. That's expected. But just looking at, that he ran for president and lost. He ran against Kennedy at that time and lost.
Right.
And now, as a vice president, he was running against him for the presidency and lost and had to certify that election. I thought that was pretty striking because I had never seen that clip before. But I thought that was striking.
Well, Nixon is lucky because Trump makes him look like a good guy right now. Reagan.
I don't know that I would go that far, but he certainly makes his crimes look not as serious.
Junior varsity.
Yes.
His crimes are junior varsity compared to
right.
There's a one-man crime wave.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go so you can watch the game, and then hopefully, I don't know, I've got another 45 minutes or so. Maybe I'll be able to catch some of the game. But go U of M.
Okay. Right.
All right.
Okay.
So the loser buys the next drink.
But you don't drink.
Well, of course I drink. Cranberry juice and then pineapple juice.
Right. Okay. Well,
I don't drink spirits.
That's a good bet, because I would probably want some Cavassier.
Okay. All right. You got it.
Okay. All right. So I'll be back in a couple of weeks.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Okay. Bye.
All right. Monroe Anderson, everybody. That's our edition for this week's Monroe Monday. We certainly want to thank our guests for coming on. Always look forward to having a conversation with Monroe, who understands the political landscape here in Chicago, and is always interesting to hear his perspective. And certainly we thank Paul Lisnick for making this happen. We've been trying to get him on for a while. And I've been trying to get Jesse on. I'm going to continue to try to get Jesse to come on because I do think that the public needs to hear from him. And I think that he should come on, or certainly maybe not come on with me, but certainly I think that it's important for him to address the public and address the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is, why should we entrust you with that office before again? And what has changed, and what have you learned from that first experience? So I certainly would be interested in know, even though I can't vote for him anyway. And even if I lived where I lived before, they've redistricted the area where I was living out of that into the 7th or the 1st Congressional District. Jonathan Jackson is my Congress representative now. But I think that it is absolutely fair, not about the crime, because, if we got a felon in chief who is convicted of 34 felonies of fraud, and been found liable for sexual assault, that this is the person that half of the country said that they would like to elect, and did elect. So I'm not even talking about that, because I personally believe that it was an overreach in terms of charging and convicting he and his wife of something that they slapped on the wrist of a state senator, I forget his name, here, that did the exact same thing. And all he got was, I think, a censure, and he had to leave office, and he went home. I don't even think that, I have to see if he had gotten any type of, I don't believe that he got any type of confinement. He may have gotten a probation or something like that, but I'll have to research that. I don't remember. But I'm going back to this, this immigration thing, where there have been many people from our community who think what this president is doing is a good thing and a right thing. And it is not a right thing. It is not a right thing. It's not a righteous thing. And it's not even, he is violating the Constitution in what he is doing by not allowing for these people to have their rights. protected. Now, there was some people who were talking about who were talking about the whether or not they have constitutional rights. Let me just explain to you what the Constitution does say about a person having rights under the Constitution. Now, the Constitution is that any person, it does not say citizen, it says persons. So any persons that are on the United States soil is protected under the Constitution and has right to due process under the law. That doesn't mean that they have citizenship. That doesn't mean that they can take advantage of any other rights that we have. But the Constitution, which was affirmed in the 14th and the 15th Amendment, that any persons, and I want to get that language for you. So, because I heard somebody on another program talking about this, and they clearly were out of bounds in what they were talking about because it wasn't correct. The Constitution does not say that you have to be a citizen to have protection. It says persons, and I'm going to find I'm going to find that. I'm going to find that here. So the United States Constitution often does not require citizenship for protection. Many constitutional rights apply to persons, because that's what it says in the Constitution, not citizens. The Fifth Amendment says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That's the Constitution. It does not say citizen, which applies to everyone, including non-citizens. The 14th Amendment, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person equal protection of laws. Again, persons, not citizens. So because of the courts, which have long held that non-citizens, including undocumented immigrants, have constitutional protections such as due process, equal protection, protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, access to court. Now, that's the Constitution. Now, either you support the Constitution or you do not support the Constitution. Now, we have people at the Supreme Court that obviously do not support the Constitution, except for when it is convenient for the thug and thief that is there, or should I say the convicted in chief that is there. Now, you can be and have your opinion about immigrants, about migrants, and all of that. But if you are supporting what this president is doing, and thinking that somehow he is removing the worst of the worst, and those who have committed horrendous crimes, and that is what his intention is, or removing people who are here illegally. You notice that he's not doing it in places like Texas. He's not doing it in places like Florida. Wonder why. Not doing it in places like Mississippi. Wonder why. Not doing it in places like Kentucky. Oh, you know what? All of those commonly are red states. and all of which have more undocumented migrants than Minnesota. I think in Minnesota there is 100 and some odd thousand undocumented. In Texas, there's more than 1.5 million. In Florida, there's about 1.2 million. And then get this, there are more than 500,000 white European undocumented illegal migrants in the country, and not a single one of those, not a single one has been apprehended. So for those of you who would support this, I would say to you, you probably need to, one, do some serious soul searching, and, you know, honestly, acknowledge what is going on within you. Now, I know that people are saying that you know, they're taking, you know, our jobs and they're here to replace us. That is the biggest bunch of nonsense whatsoever. There's no evidence of it at all. You're just repeating talking points, and enabling yourself to agree with something that is egregious. And for those of you who are using the Bible to justify what you're saying, using the Bible to justify what you're saying, stop using the Bible to justify your anti-migrants, or just, we might as well say anti-Hispanics, because that's really who many of you are talking about. And that's just the truth of it. That's many of you are talking about it. And when it really boils down to it, these are not people who are stopping our communities and people in our communities from advancing, or people in our community getting what our communities should be getting, from education to economics and everything in between, whether it's health, housing, whatever it may be. Because it's not migrants that are passing and signing legislation into law that disadvantage our community. It's not migrants that's doing that. It's not Hispanics that is doing that. It's not migrants that is doing it. It's not immigrants that is doing that. Those are American citizens that are voting, that are proposing and passing legislation that disadvantage people in our communities. And if we talk about it more locally, they're not migrants. They're Americans. They're American citizens who are proposing policies that are antithetical to what you and I believe that are important in our communities. And you spend all of your time, or a great deal of your time, being angry at some people that have no decisions about policies or laws that you must adhere to. But yet you will complain about this, but you're not willing to do what very simply would empower us to do. We have more than 1.5 million registered Black people in Chicago and Cook County. We could transform the political landscape in all of Illinois. All of you who get on these platforms with your wannabe profound, misinformed approaches, if you are really seriously, or if you really seriously wanted things to be different, then all of us would get together, stop with the bickering, stop attacking each other. But we would, if we would just turn to each other, drop our anger and excuses that we use to find these ways to accuse everybody. I mean, I just listened to it, and I don't say that you shouldn't even be frustrated, because there are things that we are frustrated about. There are things that we don't like that are happening. But why aren't we using the very power that we have available to us? Nobody can take that away from us. We can't continue to blame people who are in political office. We cannot continue to blame them for not doing or doing things that we don't like. If we are not willing to strategize and engage ourselves at the capacity that we need to, and the capacity we have available to us, if you operate in this zero-sum approach, you will get nothing done. You will get nothing done. If we continue to operate like we are operating in these fractionized silos, then we will get little done. We'll make some incremental changes, but I'm talking about transformational changes, transformational policies that we want to have, that we can invoke, and that we can challenge every political body to perform and to put into place policies that we want, and policies that would be more equitable for our community to benefit from in the long term, that will strengthen our communities economically, strengthen our communities health-wise, strengthen our communities with the food insecurity, you name whatever the issue that our government needs to address. You and I here in this region have the wherewithal to do it. And the only reason it's not happening is because you and I are not uniting ourselves together, organizing ourselves together to develop a strategic approach. Here is the approach. No one, not a mayor, not a governor, not a state senator, not a state representative, not a United States congressperson, not a United States senator, none of them, not a Cook County Board president, none of those people could win those offices without the majority of the Black vote. None. And yet, we will not take control of that to get something for it. And all I am saying is that if you are not going to do what is necessary to arm us to be empowered, then stop with the misinformation and just stop complaining. Stop even talking about it. What's the point of talking about it? Conversation that does not bridge with a strategy is counterproductive. It is absolutely counterproductive. And I am going to continue to remind us of this. I'm going to continue to remind us of this, that we have the power. We have more power than any organization that you can name to transform what's happening here in the region of Chicago and the Cook County area and the state of Illinois. And guess what? If we were to take that power that we have and start reaching others, and we bring this together, I mean, just bring it together. We can talk about, let's just bring it together and demonstrate to ourselves that we can do one thing. We can do one thing. We'll take one issue and we will make that issue and make that demand and watch what happens when hundreds of thousands of us say to the mayor or to the governor or to the legislative body or to our alder persons, to our Cook County board, we take one issue and we say to them, this is what we want. We first bring ourselves together. We can get ourselves together, get a space. We might have to, who knows what we have to rent. But I'm saying that we bring ourselves together. We can transform the conditions politically. Not about making any one person powerful. One person would just be a representative of the body. You know, that's what a union steward or a union president does. The most powerful union in teachers union, that is, in the country, and probably the most powerful union here, or certainly one of them, is the Chicago Teachers Union. Stacey Davis Gates is the president of that. She's also the president of the Illinois Teachers Federation. But Stacey Davis Gates does not make the decisions for the body. Stacey Davis Gates is the person that the body has voted to guide the ship, but she becomes the voice for the Chicago Teachers Union. A bright, brilliant, beautiful Black woman, mother, wife, history teacher, someone who I admire and someone who I respect. But my point is that Stacey Davis Gates does not run the Chicago Teachers Union like it is her corporation or her business. The body basically says and agrees that this is what it is that we want to do. That's what the body does. And then Stacey Davis Gates, as a representative for the body, becomes that that voice box, the voice for the body. She carries the message. She sits at the table with those that she has to sit at and negotiates what the body has already voted for. So one person is only as influenceable or as empowered as the body makes them to be. But there has to be the body. So it is the body that really has the power. So all of these conversations that I see online and all of the comments that people are making about this or that or the other, I'm talking about from the Black community now. I'm not talking about any other community. I'm not talking about migrants. I'm not talking about illegals, because illegals are not your problem. You are your problem. We are our problem. Because we refuse to do the one thing that we should do. Now look, now many of you let me do this, because I was going to do that. I got a few minutes left, and I want to try to make sure that I get I want to get to this. Now, some of you go online and you profess that you are a person and follower of Christ, or that you are a follower of God, but yet out of the same pair of lips, you spew this venom about foreigners. Now, I'm talking to the ones, or about the ones, who get on these platforms and preach about they're trying to replace us. And they're allowing for them to come and to do this or to do that. And, and we need to, what Trump is doing is somehow the right thing. But yet I'm only talking to those. I'm not talking to you who don't profess this. This conversation is not for you. I'm just talking about the people who are believers, people who profess Christ and profess God, even in their diatribe. Now, the scripture says, if you got your Bible, pull your Bible out. Now, I'm just talking about those who like to use the Bible. But the scripture says that you shall love the stranger. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. That means that we were estranged to God because we had gone astray. And what if God takes the attitude to us, believers, that many of you are taking to foreigners? Because that's what they are. They're foreigners, the migrants, the illegals that you call them. I frankly don't believe in anything as illegals. Every breathing human being belongs to God. So they're not illegal. They may have come here illegally. They may have violated the law to get here. But there are no such thing as illegals. But let's just go a little bit further. The foreign residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself. That's what Leviticus says to us. All of those of you who profess God and Christ, and that you're a lover and a follower of God and Christ. But in the same breath, you are talking about doing away with foreigners. As a matter of fact, Jesus was a refugee. So if Jesus came across the border and showed up, you'd want to have him deported? Just might. There is nothing in Scripture. There is no biblical mandate anywhere in Scripture that sanctions us, those of us who are believers, and those of us who follow and believe in the scriptures. There is no biblical mandate to deny compassion to anyone. Period. Now, I listen, but I don't get on these other platforms because I'm not going to interrupt somebody else's platform and their programs. I make little corrections and comments and send them. Because what I want most is for us to get focused. I want for us to get focused on the things that we can do that will empower our communities in the broadest way if we get focused. See, the people who are against us are the people who are in power. They love the idea that we are spending so much time focusing on people who have no decision-making power over our lives. They love that. They love that distraction so that they can continue to do and amass whatever it is that they want to do. And while they are taking whatever resources that they want to take, we're over here watching some poor migrants that are just trying to put food on the table and having no impact on our lives, while the people who have impacts on our lives, we are ignoring. If we were that vigilant, if we would bring ourselves together, how about a little bit more? But the scripture tells us, I'm still talking to the scriptural believers. Over in Psalms, it says, how good and pleasant is it when God's people live together in unity, meaning unite. There is nothing more powerful than a united body of people. You can get in circles and you can pontificate and you can extol to show, how brilliant you are. You have people who always talk about, well, I've lived in Chicago all my life and I, know this person and I know that person. And, this is the way it is in Chicago. Well, that may be the way it is. Doesn't mean that it always has to be. And the way it is if it is the way it is and you don't like the way it is, it can be changed. But in order for that to change, then we must change. We must drop our idiosyncrasies. We must drop our egos and drop all of this. Well, who's going to be in charge and who's going to do this? Does it really matter who's going to be in charge if we are not willing to charge ourselves together? Does it really matter? I don't think so. So I would say to you, encourage the people who are closest to you, people who trust you, and ask them if they are willing. If they don't like what they see, ask them if they're willing to just come together. That's what we're trying to do, is to bring a large consortium of us together, not to dictate to the consortium, but to bring us together so that we can decide on one thing. Now get this, imagine this, imagine this. We would not even have to do one thing to get the people who are in all of the political offices to pay attention. If 100,000 or 200,000 Black people in Chicago and Cook County came together and said, we are the independent Black voting bloc, and we are going to be making some demands for some changes. And we're putting them on notice. And we're putting you all on notice that we are going to target some of those seats, and we are going to put people there that we want to put there. I can guarantee you that before any election, before any organized effort or any policy, you will see a shift in the attitude of those people who are currently in those political offices. Because the truth is that we put them there to serve, not to dictate. We put them there to serve. But the problem is that we're not holding people accountable. We're not holding them accountable, and then we're not supporting the people who are doing those things that we want. We can't just elect them and let them go. We have to be the power behind them. That's what gives them the voice in order to carry our message forward to the rest of the body. So if 200,000 of us came together and agreed to unite, I can guarantee you that you will demonstrate to yourself, to your very own eyes, what that power looks like and how that power actually functions. If 200,000 of us came together, we could show the rest of the diaspora here in Chicago and Cook County and around the country what real organized Black political strength looks like from the ground. Now, then there will be some, well, what happens if they will kill us? They can't kill us all off. They cannot kill us all off. And that is not something that we take for granted. But 200,000 of us together, we can provide everything that we need. We can provide our own finances. We can provide our own security. We can hire our own representation. Because if 200,000 of us came together, 200,000, and we all gave $10 a month, 200,000 people giving $10 a month. You know what that is, right? That's $2 million a month times 12. That gives us the ability to do whatever it is that we want to do. That's real power. So all this other stuff that we are talking, all of this other stuff that we are doing is meaningless. Meaningless. You want to get on a platform and you want to, get some clicks and likes and all of that sort of stuff. Maybe, fine. but it's not going to make a difference in anybody's life. It's not going to make a difference in our community. How about putting together 200,000 of us, and we can certainly create some likes for our community. We can go down the list and we can transform the conditions of our communities. We can literally transform the conditions of our communities in 5 years. We can do that. If we just get the cobwebs out of our way and allow ourselves to think differently, to be open to a connectivity with each other. Get rid of all of the negative thoughts, all of that, just drop it. Because if we don't do it, then I would say we don't have anything to complain about. Let's just continue to do the little work that we're doing and make maybe some incremental progress here and there, rather than transformational progress here and there. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to just say this. If you are not, we're going to have another person who's going to be joining us this Thursday night on the 10 by 10 to win meeting. I'm going to put it in the chat. If you're not, and if you're open to it, all I'm asking you to do, what I'm asking you to do is to, if you don't have it, I'm going to ask you to go into the text alert, text 10x10 to this number, 855-909-1385. Okay? So, and then become a part of the text alert. Come to the Zoom meeting on Thursday night, because this is the same thing that I'll be talking about on Thursday night, and this is what we're doing. If we can galvanize at that capacity, whatever the issues of concerns, we can change them. Whether it's legislation on how property taxes are done, whether it's legislation on how enforcement is done, on reversing policies like the policies that the Cook County State's Attorney has put into place. I'm telling you, we can transform these conditions. We can transform our conditions, and only us will make that transformation. We are the ones that have to make that transformation. Now, I'm going to just say this about this crazy president who thinks that he's going to go over and take those people's land.
He's
Watch
just
this clip.
arrogant and a very big bully. He does not care of anything. His way of saying things are just so specific and so disrespectful and hateful that it's just hurting everybody around him.
I don't know what he's thinking, and I really don't want to have him being in my head or in my voice at all. He's he makes so much. He puts so much pressure on us as a people, and I think it's surreal and it's unreal to be part of that circus he's doing right now.
Well, I mean, a tariff of 25% is nothing against the free world, is it? I think that's the way you have to look at it. This is a fight for freedom. It's for NATO. It's for everything the Western Hemisphere has been fighting for since World War II.
Those people over in Denmark and Greenland are not having what Trump is trying to do. And if you don't understand the volatility of what that means and how it will isolate this country in the long term, in the long run, that you see what's happening over in Canada. Canada is now cutting deals with China. Canada, one of our greatest allies, that are actually cutting deals with China. And we are not understanding that. All right, look, that's going to do it for me for this Monday night edition of the People Show. Please, let's get ourselves together if we really want to make change. And I look forward to seeing you right back here next Monday night for another edition of the People Show on intellectualradio.com and iHeartRadio. Thank you for tuning in.